Hey, what's happening, guys? Happy Friday here. Dan Dara with another Options in Play video update. Uh, so today's video is going to be kind of a game plan for earnings next week. Earnings season's a couple weeks away, but news flow is going to start picking up in the next few days. So uh, let's talk about what's on the radar, as we like to say. So Friday today, final day of the third quarter. It's a great time to look ahead, and there's going to be plenty of action coming our way in the beginning of the fourth quarter. Uh, this September has actually been a little bit less volatile than some of our Septembers the past couple of years. So coming into this month, you had some talking heads saying they're expecting a pickup in volatility, which really hasn't materialized. But there's a chance, October in the fourth quarter brings more action in the VIX and the volatility and wider ranges because you have not only earnings but midterm elections, which are just about a month away. So there really is a good chance that volatility starts to pick up, which would be fantastic for event trades. And what I mean by that is a quiet tape can mean more muted reactions to earnings, which you probably noticed over the past couple weeks. Nike, Adobe, Micron, for instance, just a couple, and they didn't really have significant moves. So each of those three moved less than what the options were anticipating, and those were three relatively big, market cap wise, maybe not as big as some of the FANG names, but in terms of like the respective industries, they were pretty important, and the moves just like were not as large as what the options were anticipating. So expanded volatility would definitely be a welcome positive into earnings because that means that the ranges and the size of these moves should expand as well. So let's go ahead and check the calendar and see what looks interesting for next week. Um, so as we come to into Monday, after the close, you're going to have Stitch Fix, which uh, could definitely be a big mover. Options are pricing in about a 6.5 point move. So this has weekly options available. 6.5 points is about, give or take what they're looking for. 25% of the float, more or less, is short. So pretty heavily shorted stock, which is up 100%, give or take, from the June report. You can see the incredible run it's been on. It just pulled back. Uh, so, huge run since last earnings, heavily shorted, pricing in a big move. This could be a name worth playing. Considering last quarter's strong action, considers last quarter's strong numbers, the strong action in the stock, probably slightly more bullish biased. But we'll be looking to maybe design a trade for this one for next week. Tuesday, you have Paychecks and Pepsi. Those are the two big names. Paychecks, you may or may not be familiar with, payroll processing company. It's probably a little bit too early to know what impact Square's payroll offering is going to have. This was actually just announced this week, which is why you can see Paychecks pulled back. But overall, the stock is up a lot since May, and it's typically not a large mover on earnings. So we're probably a little bit less inclined to touch this one, or get involved with this one for a trade, just because it doesn't have a good history of big moves, and it's had a large run, and there's maybe some fundamental overhang. Pepsi is a pretty large staple, and this one's kind of tough. It had a decent quarter in July, and it had a nice move after that. It made a splash over the summer when it bought SodaStream. But the staples still aren't great, and Piers, General Mills, which is GIS, and Conagra and McKesson, which both just reported yesterday, were all kind of disappointing. So it's still a really tough. It's still a really tough industry or sector to be positive on. The action's overall just not great. And Pepsi had a good quarter, but it's up a lot since May, so it's kind of a tough name, and it's a little bit, in our opinion, tougher to expect as much upside as you would have seen last quarter when they had a decent report and it was up $4. I mean, that seems like it could be a stretch this time around. Cutie, definitely a name to watch Wednesday. This has been a favorite of ours for the past year. We've played this several times. To the downside, to the upside. Recent trade in here, looking for a swing breakout, which actually ended up working really really nicely. This is a lighting manufacturer, and it had a really big rebound in July on the quarter. So it was a long period of underperformance, as you can see. Stock really had been struggling for a while. Big rebound quarter in July, based, and then took off again. So it's had also. You'll notice that a handful of these stocks have had really big moves since June, July. It's kind of like a theme here. Um, so this is up about 30% since July. What we love about it is that good or bad, it tends to move pretty consistently on earnings. So what that means is that if it's bad, it'll drop a lot. If it's good, it'll pop a lot. Which in terms of event trades, that's what you love to see. Just consistent action one way or the other. Options are pricing in 15, 16 point move, which is kind of reasonable. I mean, it tends to move, between 15 and 20, sometimes more. There's gaps above, gaps below. It's kind of, it's starting to rebound, but it seems like it's quarter to quarter. So that's definitely a name that's going to be on our radar. And definitely at this point, think we're going to be involved in that one for sure. Constellation, Thursday morning. So Thursday you have two interesting ones. Constellation, which is STZ, and Costco. STZ coming off a miss into June here. It's a rare miss for Constellation, and what I mean by rare is look at this chart. It's been a beauty. So Constellation coming off a miss, but mid August, maybe the biggest news announcement of the past month, just because of the impact it's had on other stocks. So that's when they signed the deal with CGC, Canopy Growth. The stock got beat up pretty sharply. It's recovered. But as you can see here, it's struggling to get back above this long-term area of support. Like, these moving averages have been great support during the whole trend higher. 200-day, obviously a significant one, and now it's like bumping up into it. It's kind of struggling to get back through. So this is going to be a very important quarter for Constellation because A, it's coming off a miss. B, it's not acting particularly great technically. The ranges have expanded, so as you can see, like the intraday ranges are starting to move. The stock has had a pretty big swing since the last reported, so this could be an interesting bet just for a volatility play, like up or down, because options are priced in about 10-point move, but there's a really well-defined gap above. It's about $18 off its August low, so there seems to be visibility for an even bigger move than 10 points. Especially with the stock in the news like the last couple months, and working on getting back through like a pretty significant area. This one to us kind of circled on our radar as potentially a volatility bet. So maybe a strangle, straddle, something like that. Costco, the other one on Thursday. This one's been just super impressive retailer. Probably the strongest. Well, if not the strongest, one of the strongest for sure. I mean, just really has outperformed most of its peers, and fundamentals have certainly helped. Numbers have been great. Technicals, I mean, it's gotten into like that trend that trend setup where just each little dip has been bought. The 20-day has been a great area of support, although it has been consolidating underneath it for the last couple weeks. So this is going to be an important quarter for Costco. Not in the sense that they need like a huge blowout, but the stock is up a lot. The valuation's a little bit higher. Actually, not a little bit. The valuation is quite a bit higher than a bunch of peers. and the numbers have been so good that expectations are probably high. So options are looking for about a 7.5 point move, but risk reward probably a little bit more favoring the downside. Um, I will say that odds are the numbers are probably going to be pretty solid, but there just appears to be more risk to the downside if they disappoint, right? Because of the huge move it's had and that kind of higher valuation compared to like the Walmarts and the Targets, and that those groups. They're all trading around like 15 to 20 times earnings, and Costco's in like the 30s. So I mean, it's probably going to be a good number, but if it's not, there could be some serious downside here. So, like I said, it's going to start picking up. Love to see that volatility start to pick up too, because that means expanding volatility means expanding ranges and bigger moves for earnings. So, hopefully, all these pundits are right, and once this calendar starts getting into the end of the year, that we're going to see like that pickup in volatility everybody's been looking for. So, have a fantastic weekend. Um, Plenty to look forward to. Earnings will be here before you know it. So definitely enjoy. Best of luck trading, and I will talk to you guys all on Monday.